It's time for Top of the Morning with genial Gene Perkins on KBOI.
And the countdown has started at KBOI for the changeover at 8 o'clock. So we're 1 hour and 54 minutes and 15 seconds away. How about that? Elvira Madigan's the title here, and it's by Eddie Higgins. You remember Eddie? You do? Well, I'm glad you do, because I never heard of him. Hey, you want to give a station break, Bill?
This is KBOI Radio, Boise, Idaho.
6:30 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time, 59 degrees, and time for news.
KBOI News brought to you by Volkswagen. For all the Volkswagen news, visit Norm Bishop Volkswagen in Boise. Now the news.
John Clark reporting. Waves of American B-52 bombers have pounded newly discovered enemy troop concentrations and base camps that could be used for attacks on Saigon. 3 U.S. Army helicopters have crashed 16 miles northeast of Saigon, killing 12 Americans and 19 Thai troops. A U.S. spokesman says 2 helicopters collided in flight and the explosion knocked down a 3rd chopper. The U.S. command reports 2 American flyers are missing in North Vietnam following the loss of their Navy jet due to unknown causes. It's the 859th U.S. plane reported lost in combat over the North. South Korea today observed the 18th anniversary of the outbreak of the Korean War. There were ceremonies and parades in Seoul and other cities amid unusually high military tensions along the demilitarized zone. National Guardsmen patrolled the curfew-emptied streets of Washington early today after disorders broke out following the forceful closure of Resurrection City. The leader of the Poor People's Campaign, the Reverend Ralph David Abernathy, and many of the 342 other persons arrested yesterday at Resurrection City appear this morning in court. There was an outbreak of window smashing and looting in Boston's predominantly Negro Roxbury section late last night. Police restored order within about 2 hours. The world's longest surviving heart transplant patient, Philip Bleiberg, remains at the intensive care center at the Cape Town Hospital. His condition is reported as unchanged 2 weeks after he developed a liver infection, which doctors diagnose as hepatitis. More news in a moment. Signatures supporting a petition for a dredge mining initiative proposal continue to flow in. The Secretary of State's office says petitions bearing 6,000 names were turned in yesterday, but 25,000 signatures are needed by July 5th. The weather for southwestern Idaho, fair and warmer today, tonight, and tomorrow. The high temperatures today, 85 to 95, and the lows tonight, 55 to 65. John Clark, KBOI
News has been brought to you by Volkswagen. For all the Volkswagen news, visit Norm Bishop Volkswagen in Boise.
Hello there. Well, here we are, really moving up there, Bill. 16 and a half minutes before 7. That means 1 hour, 16 and a half minutes before the big switch.
And it's the Gene Perkins Show on KBOI Radio. Top of the morning to you.
Thanks. Who's going to throw the switch?
I don't know who's going to throw the switch. I haven't heard.
14 engineers and 2 assistants.
It probably will take that many, yeah.
Boy, I understand that they got so much electricity going in out there that, well, he said there's 400, it's one of those 440-volt, 3-phase lines.
440?
Yeah.
I didn't know they had such thing.
Well, I guess you put in 2 220s or something there. I can add.
Oh, well, beautiful.
6:53, 1 hour, 7 minutes before switch over, and hello there. Bill, we're back 60 degrees now and warming up.
And this is the Gene Perkins Show from KBOI Radio. Gene is graciously putting up with Pat O'Halloran and Jim Hawks and myself this morning.
Gives me a chance to read a paper, Bill.
Oh, does it? As we get ready to change over, make the big switch to 50,000 watts at a new spot on the dial at 8 o'clock.
I tell you, I may have a calm exterior, but inside I'm seething. I mean, I'm excited about this.
I'm excited too, Gene.
Boy,
you know,
when you look at that coverage map and realize we're going to be reaching north and south and several other directions, it's going to be great, and we sure want to hear from the folks. We might tell the people how we're getting from downtown, where the studio is, where you and I are talking, all the way to the new transmitter. That's a fascinating story in itself here.
You tell them.
Well, it goes from here to there by means of a microwave transmitter from downtown, right on the roof, up to Deer Point, where the television gear is, and then another little transmitter beams it across the country to way out south of Kuna, where the new transmitter building is located.
Right.
No lines.
Normally with these, this goes from the studios to the radio transmitter building, wherever it may be, by telephone lines. But here at KBOI, we're using a little bit different situation on the new transmitter, as Gene said, by microwave from downtown to the transmitter location of our television station up on Deer Point, and then out on the desert to our new radio installation.
We talk about radios being AM, and the morning is AM. So this is one time, and this transmission is by FM. This is one time you get AM and the AM by FM. Figure that out.
You lost me.
I don't know what I said either.
As we approach this 8 o'clock hour, about 23 minutes from now, I sort of approach it with mixed emotions, really.
People will be able to pick us up on their silver fillings.
Well, they should with that much power. This, maybe the average listener isn't too much aware of power of radio broadcast stations. The most powerful stations that are licensed by the FCC in the country today, except for experimental non-commercial stations, are 50,000 watts of radiated radio power. And in just about 21 minutes from now, KBOI joins that exclusive fraternity of 50,000 watt radio stations.
Well, this is Pat O'Halloran again. I'm going to bust in for just a moment because I know that Jim Johns, who is waiting for his baby to be born at 8 o'clock, Vice President, Assistant General Manager, and Manson McClure, our Chief Engineer, all the other engineers are sitting around here pacing like an expectant father. And I want to read a letter to Mr. Robert Howell. This comes from Syracuse, New York. I personally want to thank you and Jim for the gracious Western hospitality you showed Lloyd Morris and I during our visit to Boise last week. Your 50 kWAM plant is the most outstanding installation I've ever seen. I hope I have the opportunity of showing you and Jim our facilities here in Syracuse sometime in the near future. This is signed R.E. Lauterbach, Manager of Broadcast Sales of General Electric Company. And we invite you, too, to drive out Cloverdale Road about 20 miles south and take a look at the latest, most modern transmitter of 50,000 watt.
And now with the countdown, Bill Grattan.
Well, we're back again now at 3 minutes and 15 seconds before the 0 hour, as they say. 3 minutes and 10 seconds now from the switchover from KBOI Radio 950 on your radio dial with 5,000 watts of power to KBOI Radio 670 on your dial with 50,000 watts of power. One of America's most powerful radio stations just 3 minutes from now. We've been reminiscing this morning on the Gene Perkins Show. Gene has not had a great deal of opportunity to do very much this morning. We've been talking about the last 20 years because this morning is the end of an era and the start of another era. You've heard the old saying, the king is dead, God save the king. Well, that's sort of the way we feel this morning. The old 950 frequency will be a thing of the past for us in just 2.5 minutes, and the new one will be 670 on your radio dial. Yes, Bert?
I just want to tell people gather a second radio around so they can turn it to 670, and then they can hear the actual switchover at 8 o'clock.
Right. Well, we've reached that much talk about point in our countdown this morning. We're just about 2 minutes away from that final switchover. From 5,000 watts at 950 on the dial to 50,000 watts at 670. It marks another major change in Boise radio history, another giant step forward for KBOI. You know, we all talk about how fast the time flies, but on a day like this, it seems to have gone even faster for me. Now, I was lucky enough to be the man to sign on the first 1,000 watt station for KBOI. It was KDSH then, back in 1947, May 1, and it seems only yesterday that Dar Dodds and I helped get the station going. Those of you who were with us then may remember the old pop parade that Dar and I did, a two-man musical request show. It was probably, as I remember, the station's most popular program 21 years ago. And we were a pretty small staff then, about 11 people, but it was a start. And since then, we've progressed from 1,000 watts on KDSH to 5,000 watts on KBOI. We added television in 1953, and we've grown to a combined payroll of about 75 people. I was fortunate enough to sign on that original 1,000 watt station, to sign on the 5,000 watt station, and now to be around to sign on the 50,000 watt station at a new setting in your radio dial. Well, as they say in the space launching, all systems are go. We are at 37 seconds and counting, 34 seconds from right now. We might say, as Gene did a moment ago, that if you have a second radio handy, you may want to set it at 670 on your dial and hear us sign off this 950 frequency and the sign on 670. We're at 16 seconds and counting. If you have only just one radio, get set for a fast switch to 670 on your dial. We are just 10 seconds away. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
This is KBOI. 670 on the dial. KBOI from Boise land. Now 50,000 watts. With FM.
This is Dallas Townsend, CBS News, New York.
We are the largest and most powerful radio news team in the state of Idaho. We are News Talk 670 KBOI. Don't miss a thing. You have a busy life. The internet is oftentimes your link to the news of the day. Many news websites want to charge you for their stories. 670 KBOI wanted to tell you our news is free. International news, national news, local news, sports news, entertainment news, and business news. Right on the front page of 670KBOI.com. It was free before, and it's still free. 670 KBOI and 670KBOI.com.